Welcome to Shotgun Sports USA, recorded in the U.S. and streaming all over the world. I'm your host, Justin Barker, and I talk to shotgun shooters from all disciplines, championship-winning coaches, gun clubs, world-class target setters, vendors, and industry-leading companies that fuel the sport. If you're into clay target sports, you are at the right place for insider information from some of the best in the world. Check us out online at shotgunsportsusa.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend. Also brought to you by Cole Gunsmithing, Ultimate Shooting Accessories, Rick Hemingway's Promatic Trap Sales, Sound Gear Phantom, Comp and Choke, Clay Shooter Supply, and Clay Target Vision. My guest today is the SCTP National Program Director. The SCTP, short for Scholastic Clay Target Program, is the largest, fastest growing, and most exciting youth clay target program in the U.S. It provides students from elementary through high school and college the chance to compete in sports such as trap, skeet, sporting clays, as well as Olympic disciplines like bunker trap and international skeet. Please welcome to the show, Tom Wondrash. Tom, you're in charge of a very large organization that does a lot of good for our sport, and that organization is the SCTP, which stands for Scholastic Clay Target Program. And this family of individuals from all over the country molds the youth of our sport and teaches them a lot. I would like to discuss this organization with you and maybe answer some questions for anyone listening that may not be aware of SCTP, what they do, and how beneficial they are to the youth. So first off, as the national director for the SCTP, I know your job can be hectic. I've been trying to get you on here for a long time. So how have you been doing this, and what all is involved in making something like this work and be successful?
Well, Justin, to give you all the answers to that last part of that, we ain't got nearly enough time on this podcast to do that, but I'll give you the best I can. Yes, you're right. The job can be hectic, and it's a very involved process with everything from start to finish. I started a program or a team in this organization back in 2004 and 2005, and in the fall of 2010, I was actually offered a position as a director of development for the northern United States. And that was a part-time position, which very quickly turned into a full-time position of its own. And basically, about a year and a half later, I was offered the national director position, and I've been doing that ever since. So as far as what's involved in making things like this happen, there are so many spokes in that wheel, honestly. A big part of our organization is getting sponsors and people who support it to help keep costs down for new teams, new athletes, and so on, families. So that's a big part of it. Running the national championship is a year-long process in itself. And, just the numbers from that, the sheer numbers of attendees at that tournament makes it the biggest tournament in the world, honestly, or actually. So for this year, we already have almost 3,400 athletes registered for this July's national championships and about 8,500 registrations at this point. So just on the books right now, we're well over 1.6 million competition targets we'll be throwing for this year's national. So you can just imagine what kind of involvement in the steps that takes to secure that the facility, the employees, the work. Just everything from A to Z behind the scenes. So, but it's quite involved, but it's very rewarding. How's that?
Yeah. Is your national championship always held at the same place?
Yes, it has been for about the last 6-7 years, and that's at the Cardinal Shooting Center in Marengo, Ohio, just north of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. So you talked about you got involved with this with the team. How did you, or why did you start a team?
Honestly, I belong to a local gun club in southern Wisconsin, and we had kids interested in shooting, And after talking with my kids at that time who were in seventh and eighth grade range, and some other things, other friends and their kids, and just kind of started looking around and said, hey, we need to get a youth program going and a youth team going. And just kind of, I don't say stumbled into it a little bit, but kind of fell into it. And the original 17 kids that got involved absolutely had a ball, and they started telling their friends. And a week and a half later, we were up to about 28 kids. So it was kind of one of those be careful what you wish for things, and we never looked back since. That team that I started back then is a school-sponsored program, and usually has about 85 kids on the team every year.
Do you shoot competitively, Tom?
I have for years, but as you can imagine, just like a carpenter whose house is falling apart and a mechanic whose car is falling apart, they never get to work on their own or do their own stuff, unfortunately. Right. But I had shot competitively for quite some time, and now it's kind of I get to shoot when I can type thing, and which is not real often anymore. But that's right. I kind of set that aside a little bit to help the cause and getting more kids involved. So.
That's right. How many members are currently in the SCTP right now?
There are about 19,000. Without getting to the exact athlete, I'm going to give you a round number. It's right around 19,000, and probably right around 4,600 coaches involved as well.
Wow. When does the season start for SCTP? Is it the same time all the other shooting starts, or?
Yeah, we kind of run like a school year, if you will. So September 1st is our start date, and August 30, and runs through August 31st. So it's very similar to a school year, high school school year, I should say. So so September 1, August 31. So
what is the difference between SCTP and other youth organizations?
Well, there's a few other youth organizations out there. What's interesting about that is that at least 2 or 3 other ones that I'm aware of who are actually comparable to what we do and who we are were started by people who used to be part of our organization. So I guess that's quite a compliment in a way. But right. The one thing about the SCTP is that it was started by the NSSF, the National Shooting Sports Foundation. It was started by them with support and help from the industry. Industry realized that the numbers were going down in competitive clay target shooting, and not just for a year or two, but has been going on for quite some time. And they realized at that point that hey, if we don't start getting youth involved, we're not going to have a program and things going on in the future. So I'm glad they did get something started at that time. That certainly is. We've helped take it places and grow it to I think levels they never thought we would or that would happen. And so it's a good thing. But again, the bottom line is, industry started our program and supported our program, and that's where it is to this day. So,
what state has the largest attendance in SCTP?
Oh boy, it's usually a toss-up between Iowa and Wisconsin. They're usually neck and neck at right around 4,000 athletes in each state. So you can see that's a pretty big number compared to the overall number of 19,000 I told you about.
Yeah.
But those are probably the 2 biggest states, and a couple other states are starting to really come along. Texas is coming along great. Other states, Florida, Georgia, those states are coming along really well. So it's becoming a thing. Ohio, another state that's really jumping on board here. So yeah, it's all good.
So if someone wants to join a team, how do they go about doing that?
A lot of times they'll send a message in or they'll contact us. But otherwise, just going online to find our website, mysctp.com. And there's a button right on there where you can go to find a team near you. And if there's not a team close enough, we certainly take every step that we can to help a parent or somebody at a local gun club start a team.
Yeah.
So, but normally there's a team pretty close. Yeah.
And all skill levels, I'm sure, are welcome, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We get mostly beginners, of course, and we have athletes in our program from 4th and 5th grade all the way up through college. So you got everything in between. Mm-hmm.
When becoming a member of the SCTP, is there anything that you get?
Yeah, you get to be part of a team. We help host quite a few different tournaments, from regional tournaments to our national championships, which I alluded to earlier. And there's other things that go along with it. The athletes normally get some of the best pricing we can find on ammunition, some of the best pricing we can find on firearms, opportunities, scholarships opportunities, and so on. So there's quite a few different things that membership, again, has its privileges, if you will. We help with college, college scholarships, and help with college placements, finding colleges that have shooting teams for a lot of athletes. That's a big deal. So as far as what they get, other than that, again, the insurance and is a huge one, of course. And
What kind of insurance are you talking about?
well, the SCTP carries a $10 million liability insurance policy on every athlete and every coach registered in our program.
Oh, nice.
And not only that, which is a huge policy, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but not only that, we can also include the schools. So if it's a high school team or a college team, we can include that school as an also insured for no additional charge. So on top of that, we also can include the shooting range or the facility where they practice and train at. They can be named as an also insured again for no additional charge. So it's a pretty comprehensive liability policy, and we're pretty proud of that. And we worked hard to get that, and it covers every single athlete and coach in our program, registered in our program. So
Nice. That's something to feel good about for sure.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
So.
Yes.
How does someone start one of these teams? I just asked how you joined one. So how does someone, if someone like you wanted to start a team, what's involved with doing that?
Well, typically it starts with one person. So needing that one person to say, okay, I'll be the head coach. Now what? So once that person says we have a person that says I'll be the coach or I'll be the head coach, it pretty much that ball starts rolling from there. We direct them to our website. Where you can log on to, there's a big yellow button on there that says start a new team. And once you click on that, that walks you right through and gets the head coach information. They'll get a chance to name their team at that point, list where they practice and train at, just all those things. So once that's all completed and they go through there, we do also a comprehensive background check on every coach. So before that team can start, that comprehensive background check is initiated. So just another step again towards making sure that everybody's safe and that there's no issues or problems. And then it just kind of goes, from there. And then the coach gets access into the system with a username and password, at which time he can also include his assistant coaches and then add athletes as he gets them onto the team.
So how many, is there a certain number of teams that can be in a certain area, or can you have as many as you want?
Yeah, you can have as many as you want, and I'm going to say that kind of tongue in cheek, only meaning that there's certain areas that you might have 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 high schools, and of course most athletes like to represent their high school in whatever sport that they're in, so we certainly allow each high school to do that. If there's a club or a shooting facility, and there's, let's say, only one in that area, many of the teams will shoot at that same facility. So depending on if it's a high school type team or if it's a club-based team, we'll determine kind of how we handle that or how we try to get teams set up. Of course, if we have a good program going on there, we don't want another program started there because we have a good program going on there, and kids should go ahead and join that program that's already going there. So that, and if they belong to a high school and the high school's already got a team, we certainly want them to get involved with that high school team. So, yeah.
I know that SCTP's created great friendships for both the shooters and the families, and that's what's important. But you can always count on that shooting family being extremely supportive. So in your opinion, how can the SCTP help you in a competitive world? And what I mean is, how can this teach lessons about winning and losing?
Well, that's a really good question, and a lot of that stems from the head coach, kind of the fish things from the head, if you will, and the more coaches we get involved that are doing this for the right reason are actually teaching the kids the very same thing. And I'm going to say our program is really on the cutting edge of that. You get coaches doing the right things. You get coaches teaching the right things for the right reasons. And it's just as you said, the friendships and the families and so on. I can't even begin to tell you how many emails or letters and calls and text messages and whatever that we get from parents and teams and coaches, meaning suggesting just that how this has done so many things for not only just for the kids but for the adults, and
Right.
It's really given everybody kind of a chance to belong to something, and with that. Just as I was a head coach for a bunch of years, you don't learn as much from the winning as you do from the losing. And I stress that all the time with our kids and our parents that, winning is just a byproduct of doing all the right things and putting all those and doing all those right things at the same time or at the right time. And but as I always stated, that you learn a lot more when you're losing. You learn what not to do, and I think that's important in that part of it. And we teach that a lot in this type of a program. It's very simple. Either you miss a target or you hit the target. So it's
Right.
it's not rocket science. And then a lot of these kids want to know then why. How did they miss it? Why did they miss it? And of course, that's where the teaching comes in. And we teach everybody. You have your good days, have your bad days, and hopefully you got more good days than you have bad days. But at the end of the day, tomorrow's another day, and you pick it back up and go again. So, and that's for the most part, that's really the families and the athletes really take to that and realize that they don't have to be perfect in this sport. So, in order to be successful.
Yeah, there's one thing that I can assure you of. If you have zero friends, you can get involved with something like this and instantly have a lot. It's really neat how close everyone is.
Well, I say all the time, we've taken so many introverted kids and made them extroverts. I can't even begin to tell you, and you see them, you see that when they first come in, they're shy and hanging on to mommy's leg and that kind of stuff. And next thing you know, gosh, they're hanging out with their 2, 3, 4, 5 buddies, and having a great time. And, it's just, it's just neat to see it, and it's neat to be part of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's also an all Scholastic team. What is this team and what's required to be on the team?
The all Scholastic team is more of a, I want to say it's a paper team. And what I mean by that, it's our way of recognizing athletes who are not only doing good in the shooting sports, shooting good scores and breaking lots of targets, but it's also kids that are doing well academically. They're getting good grades. They're graduating. They're going on to college. Just all these other things that help prepare them for life. Life after high school, life after college, life after shooting sports, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the All Scholastic team is more of an award that signifies those athletes with a 3.0 or higher grade point average, and again, just all the academic parts of it, along with the shooting part of it. So as you'll see, there's quite a few kids that are on that, and we're very proud of that, certainly.
How do you keep up with their grade point average?
We require that they send that in.
Okay.
Yeah, we require they send them in. Mm-hmm.
All right. So talking about school, you have a scholarship program as well. So how do you receive this scholarship?
Well, there's one of those spokes in the wheel we talked about earlier. How we get sponsorships and donations, and we run banquets, and we raffle guns, and we just, you name it. We do so many other things. We get direct donations from sponsors and industry as well. So there's so many different things that we do to put into that scholarship program. And one of my goals was, when I took over as national director, and at that time we were giving out maybe right around $10,000 a year or so in scholarships. My goal was to get to $100,000 and maintain it. And we actually did that about 3 years ago.
Nice.
And so currently, that's a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried the best we can to help every athlete graduating to get some kind of a scholarship. And we do a lot of $500 and $1,000 scholarships, which isn't a ton of money, but by God, they do help with some books and some other things like that. So
that's right.
Less money out of the parents' pockets and so on. But a couple other things we do here too, Justin, and we're getting prepared here over the next few months to start rolling out some of these things. But estate donations and planned giving, those types of things. We had a gentleman that, the family decided to remain anonymous, but I can give you the scenario. And it was somebody that that passed on and had a significant amount of firearms collection firearms in his collection, amongst other things. And the family decided to donate them to our organization, and as a way to raise money to keep our scholarship program going. And so things like that, that planned giving, estate planning, the type of thing, are certainly things that help us tremendously in furthering our mission here. So,
all right, let me ask you this question, and I've wondered this for a long time, but every time I turn around, it seems like I'm seeing like a national championship, junior national championship, and U.S. Opens. Why can't there just be one big championship?
Well, that's a good question. Again, as the different NGBs have, like the U.S. Opens, for example, and those are primarily open to anybody, but they have obviously youth divisions in them that do separate awards. As far as like the NSSA, NSCA, which is the National Skeet Shooting Association, National Sporting Clays Association, we work kind of hand in hand with them in trying to get our athletes to attend those tournaments that are held by the national governing bodies, or the NGBs. Mm-hmm. So those in one way is kind of help supporting those organizations, the national governing bodies, and we certainly want to make sure that we do that, because those are, as these kids get older and start competing at the adult level, those are programs then that they'll be able to get into to compete. So obviously I want to say we're almost a feeder program into that, but that's really what we kind of are. So in that aspect. There are some other youth organizations out there which we talked about earlier, and a lot of those again spun off from people who may have been employed at one time or another through our organization, and they kind of started other other organizations near side defense, if you will, and so some of those are doing well. Some of them are not so well. One of them closed the doors here a couple of years ago, just for that reason. But I couldn't agree with you more, though. I think a national junior championship is a national junior championship, and we're working really hard to try to help or get more of these groups combined into one and make it happen that way. But I do agree with you for sure.
Winchester's a big supporter of this podcast, and I believe they're the official ammunition of SCTP. So what has it meant for the SCTP, for Winchester to come in and have such a high level of commitment?
Well, obviously, Justin, that's not something that happened overnight either. I mean, that was a lot of conversations, a lot of meetings, a lot of face-to-face meetings to get both sides to feel comfortable with how we would roll it out. At the end of the day, Winchester has stepped up in a huge way in youth shooting sports, and specifically for the Scholastic Clay Target Program. Ammo buying program actually is geared at only one youth organization, and that's us. That's the SCTP. So the youth buying program that they rolled out this year was only available if you were on an SCTP team or an SCTP member. So I wish I had the numbers here for you, how much ammo was sold through this, but it was a lot. The number would blow your socks off, but it was a big number. And I was so happy to see that, and so happy that that they could help as many teams and athletes out as they did. I know they stretched themselves a little bit, and but like I said again, the appreciation was just bottomless, and they were fantastic. Yeah. They realize again that our youth are our future, and if we don't keep them involved, who's going to? So they made a big step, and they're going to continue to do that for the next 3 years in our current agreement. So yeah, it's looking great, and we're very happy to have them. So yep.
So tell me how that program works. If someone needs ammunition shooting in the SCTP, how does that work?
Well, basically what will happen is the ammo buying program will roll out a flyer. A flyer will go out to all of the SCTP registered coaches and teams across the country, and along with the pricing and so on. And they basically fill out the form and send it in to us. And there's obviously a start date and a deadline. Normally we don't quite get to the deadline because the amount of ammunition that they can make available, that number is met. So whether that's in 2 days or 2 weeks or whatever that it comes down to, as soon as that number, or we hit that number, then we have to shut off all of the applications for the ammunition. So bottom line is we kind of vet it out, make sure that they're legitimate teams in our organization. And if somebody is buying, a significant amount of ammunition, we want to make sure that they have the athletes on the team to support that purchase. So, we want to make sure that they're not buying ammunition for other means, if you will. So, right. This program is about the kids, and that's why we want to make sure that it's kept that way. So that's very important.
What other sponsors are involved with SCTP that you need to mention? I'm sure there's
there's a few that stand out, obviously. Yeah, Winchester and Shields are the top, probably the top two. They're both Red Diamond, which is the highest level sponsorship we have. Honestly, Winchester is even above and beyond that with other various things that they've done and helped us with and so on. So But Midway USA and Larry and Brenda Potterfield are certainly a huge supporter and help to our organization. Again, Shields, Winchester. You start getting into the titanium and platinum members. You start looking at CZ USA, huge sponsor and has been for a while. Browning, obviously they're part of Winchester too, but Browning before that was and is still a huge sponsor and supporter of our program. Beretta USA is a big sponsor. As you start getting to other sponsors, then you start getting to the gold level, silver level. SKB Shotguns has been there for a long time with us. White Flyer Targets, of course. Promatic, Mech. Both make clay target throwing machines and equipment. Fiocchi Ammunition, along with Winchester, has been right there next to us through the whole deal here. So again, I can go on, and I hate to do that because I know I miss a few up there, but we certainly have some very good sponsors. We're very proud of. Benton Soley is a newer one that's come on at a pretty high level at the gold level this year. So there's some pretty good level sponsorships here.
Wow, that's amazing. What would you, I've often wondered this. What would you say to a parent that may have concerns about gun safety or may feel that their kids are not at a competitive level yet? What would you say to those parents?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I would let them know, as we discussed a little bit earlier, we have a liability insurance policy that we very seldom, if at all, ever have to use. So that's a really good thing. It's good to have the insurance, but it's good to not have to use it. So, right. But also, the NSSF did a survey and did a study some years ago, and I think the last one we have might be 2018 or 2019, where they compared the actual instances or occasions of injuries in different sports. Did you know that gun shooting and shotgun shooting specifically is safer than ping pong? It's safer than billiards.
I had no idea.
It's safer than badminton. Isn't that something?
Let me ask you this, Tom.
The statistics don't lie.
How do you get hurt playing pool?
Well, I don't know. I wondered that myself. or badminton for that matter. But
right, or ping pong.
But But statistically, shotgun shooting is safer than all them sports, and bike riding, another one. But it's incredible. And when you look at the ones that are some of the more, sports that are more, injury prone or whatever. Obviously, you look at the, football and baseball are the top two, and then you just kind of go from there. Cheerleading is another one on top of the list, along with volleyball. So you're kind of a crazy situation, but when you look at the risk level, it's pretty eye opening, really. So I tell them, I'll get you the information over. You take a look at it, and you tell me, which sport you'd rather have your kids in, if you're going to feel safer. So
yeah, that's pretty amazing, to hear that.
It is,
So
yeah.
So if someone asked you, why should my son or daughter join, what would you say? Mm-hmm. Give me one or two good reasons why someone should join the SCTP.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me start out with one for you that probably prompted me to get my kids involved when I did. When my daughter and son were in other sports, and I'll use my daughter in basketball for an example, you had 15, 18 kids on a team, and the same 6 or 7 or however many are on, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I don't remember anymore, but come game night, those same 6 or 7 got to play 98% of the game. And the last minute or two, sometimes the coach would put somebody else in to get a minute or two playing. But those kids sat there and practiced every single night, along with the kids who are starting, who are playing most of the game. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing more frustrating, not only for the athlete that's got to sit on the bench and watch all their friends play. And I don't care whether it's basketball or volleyball or baseball or football or whatever the sport is, any stick and ball game. But, sit on the bench, practice the entire time as all the rest of the athletes do, and sit on the bench and watch them play. There's nothing more frustrating, not only for the athlete, but for the parent to come out and want to watch their son or daughter participate in the sport. And then you go to a game and sit there and watch them sit on the bench the entire game. So what's so neat about this program and about this particular sport is that it's all inclusive. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, tall or short, heavy or thin, going bald with a lot of hair. It just doesn't make any difference. Okay, every kid gets to play, and every one of them gets to practice, and every one of them gets to play come game day. And I think that is a huge part in why our sport and industry is growing so much, especially in the high school level. And why there's more involvement. And so for that first reason right there, to me, is one of the biggest reasons I can give you, that it's just an all-inclusive sport, and the kids love it. They have a great time, and they're having fun, and isn't that what it's supposed to be about?
That's right.
So I can give you 100 other reasons, but I'm telling you what, I'm going to start right with that one, and let that one just kind of fall right there, because
that's good enough.
That is what it's all about.
Earlier, you mentioned the national championship. Go into that just a little bit and tell me how that. I've never seen one or been to one. Tell me how that works. And
well, the national championships, again, we hold them in at the Cardinal Shooting Center in Marengo, Ohio, and that tournament is it's a growing tournament every single year. I mean, every year is a new record year for us, and I think what's going on with that, or what happens with that, is that the kids get a chance to meet, obviously, other kids and teams from across the country. We typically have teams from 32 to 36 states come and participate in this, and we'll see over 300 teams this year that are actually coming in. So currently we have about 34, right around 3,400 individual athletes that are coming in. Of those, about 2,700 are male, and about 700 are female. So while the number might be a little bit skewed, it's still a pretty good number from the ladies, and that's just for our national championships. But they shoot every discipline. So they shoot trap, skeet, sporting clays, the international Olympic disciplines of international skeet and bunker trap. We'll do some handicap trap and doubles trap along with double skeet. So we shoot about every clay target, discipline that there is out there. And obviously, some kids are better at some than others, or different ones. So you have good kids who are really good at trap, or kids who are really good at skeet or sporting clay. So it's just kind of a neat situation, and obviously putting it all together and making sure that works, and that they're shooting the right targets at the right spot at the right day. So like you said, there's quite a bit involved. So but it's neat. It's just a really neat thing to see these kids walk around at a national championship, and the respect and the responsibility are just second to none. We got some of the best kids in the world that are involved in this organization, and again, you're handling the firearm, and with that comes respect and responsibility, and it's just neat to watch these young folks be proud of that, and we're glad to have them, and that's why we do what we do for them. So.
Well, Tom, I appreciate your time tonight, and I appreciate you going over all these things. And I hope that someone listening that's interested in joining the SCTP definitely heard something that they maybe had a question about, or heard something that made them want to join the SCTP. But I appreciate your time. I appreciate what you do, and I guess we'll talk to you later.
Justin, thank you very much. And again, anybody interested, they can go ahead and Google mysctp.com, and there's information spots on there. Just go ahead and reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to help. So thank you again, Justin, for doing this and getting us on here and getting the word out.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
No problem, Tom.